The US election 2020 was a fierce battle which has proved what many had anticipated. But as expected, Donald Trump is not a gracious loser at all, as he still refuses to concede. After playing golf to cope with the election results, Trump returned to voicing his inflammatory rhetoric on Twitter, yet again by targeting the system in place in America. Most of his latest tweets were yet again flagged with a warning from the social media platform. Now that the US is in a period of transition of power, what does the future of Donald Trump look like? Is he dangerous in any manner? That is what many experts are saying. Experts fear that Trump's remaining tenure of more than 70 days in office is no less than a ticking time bomb. He could use the remaining time in firing capable officials and issuing pardons to criminals that might also include himself. The power to pardon became a part of the US Constitution in order to show mercy. The power to pardon only applies to federal crimes and helps escape the punishment while keeping the conviction intact. But it cannot be reviewed, and the president does not have to give a reason for issuing it. There is no definitive answer to whether Trump can pardon himself, as no president has ever tried it before. However, Trump is well within his legal rights to pardon people in his inner circle, including family members. Trump could try to pardon himself to try to cover the possibility of prosecution after he leaves office. Now, just last month, New York Times filed two explosive reports, one on Trump's alleged unsuccessful deals with China and the second on constant income tax evasion. For now, the Trump campaign is focusing on how to throw legal challenges at President-elect Joe Biden. However, the window of opportunity to prepare for legal consequences is shortening, as Trump will soon lose the protection of the U.S. Attorney General, Bill Barr. For more details, we are now being joined live by Jagriti Dave from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Jagriti. Now, we have been tracking the scenes of joy and celebrations across the United States over the weekend as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris begin taking charge in the transition period. So tell us a little bit about the mood in the U.S. and some changes expected in the Biden-Harris transition time, that is.
Yeah, I mean, look, the election was an example of just how divided the nation is. I know this is something that commentators have said so many times, but it really is true nonetheless. There were scenes of rejoicing across the United States, and there were scenes of sadness as well. And it must be said that whilst a record number of people voted for Joe Biden, President Trump got more than 70 million Americans to vote for him as well. So, you know, there are a lot of people who support the incumbent president, and Joe Biden was clearly aware of that when he made his address after the networks announced that Joe Biden had crossed that magic number and got 270 electoral college votes. And in that address in Delaware, he said that he wanted to be a president for all Americans. He really sought for unity and asked people who voted for Donald Trump to say we need to give each other a chance. Now, that's really one of the challenges that Joe Biden's going to face as he embarks on the process of transition. It's until January the 20th is Inauguration Day, and Joe Biden has already set up a transition team, and they're looking at things like the coronavirus pandemic, and he's setting up a COVID-19 task force. We're going to know more about the members in that tomorrow. He's also said that he's going to reverse some of the executive orders put forward by the current administration, for example, reversing the United States removal from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accord.
Right. Now let's talk about Donald Trump. He seems to be quite a sore loser. He is refusing to concede even now and still threatening legal challenges. So what is his plan, and will he welcome the new first family graciously? Also, more importantly, what are some of the decisions that he may take in his remaining time in office, about 70 days, which could be potentially dangerous?
Well, at the moment it looks like he is not conceding. There seems to be a small group within the White House who is perhaps trying to persuade the president that the legal challenges that his team is about to embark on and that has already embarked on are not going to amount to anything. Remember, he has already launched several legal challenges. Many of them have been dismissed. None of them indeed have changed the count, have stopped the count or changed the tallies of results. He may have had some successes in, for example, allowing election observers to move closer to the counting, but as I say, that that hasn't altered the result in any way. He is saying that further he's going to embark on further legal challenges. Now, there has been some suggestions that there's been people within the team, including his wife Melania, who were trying to persuade him to perhaps leave graciously. But then Melania Trump has also tweeted very recently, also sort of suggesting that she is more on the president's side of things. So we're not really sure what it is the president is going to do in terms of whether he is going to concede. Reports say that he is unlikely to concede. And then there's questions, some people are worried about what, as you suggested, the president could do in the remaining days he has left until he decides he has to leave, or, he could decide to concede, but very grudgingly so. But until that point where the next administration comes in, some people are very worried that he could cause damage, not just by refusing to help with the transition, but by actively trying to undermine it. He could also issue several executive orders that pass through his agenda on issues which he knows that the opposition are going to dislike. He's talked, immigration is one of those, national security is another one that people are concerned by. He could also issue pardons that could prove controversial. So there's several things he could do. Some public policy analysts, however, do suggest that there's Congress and the Supreme Court, and there are some systems in place that would prevent the president from wreaking significant damage.
Right. Jagriti, my final question. Do we expect any backlash in terms of violence from pro-Trump supporters across some key Republican states in the coming days?
Well, there were concerns about unrest, and there have been protests, across the country. As I say, there's been scenes of absolute jubilation, and there have been pro-Trump protesters as well, sort of expressing their dissatisfaction. A lot of people, suggesting that they agree with President Trump and some of his Republican supporters that it's too early to call the election, and that there is this fraud or irregularities that the president is alleging, though he has not provided any evidence for this. And the judges that the lawsuits have been presented to also seem to agree that there doesn't seem to be any irregularities. So, there has been shows of support for both sides across the country. The widespread unrest that was expected and that some people were worried about doesn't seem to have entirely manifested at this point.
Right. All right, Jagriti, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast, and thank you for all your insights.